Hi there, my friend. Today I am finally sharing with you how is it that I'm organizing our daughter's third grade Abeka homeschool curriculum using the binder method. And I have to say, I am just so happy with how everything has evolved throughout the years. I started by simply using a flex binder to organize my kids' work, and now we're going into our 5th year of homeschooling. And I have to say, it has become so efficient. And the way I'm organizing it this year, I tested some things last year with us doing parent led. And the way I'm organizing it this year is just making everything so super efficient. You're going to see that everything is right there, compact in one area. Like the binder holds everything that we need for our daughter. So I'm really excited to share this with you. I hope that you enjoy this video. And if you've used the binder method to organize your child's Abeka homeschool curriculum, go ahead and share with me in the comments below how that has worked out for you. The very first thing I want you to do is go ahead and grab my free downloadable. I have linked it in the description box below. In there, you are going to notice that I have created this guide just to help you see the subjects and the quarters are all divided, exactly what lesson to begin and what lesson to end, just to make your workflow a little bit more efficient. Now, let's go ahead and start organizing. So here is everything that I'm going to be using today to organize my daughter's 3rd grade Abeka curriculum. This year we are doing parent-led, but if you would like to organize your child's 3rd grade Abeka curriculum and you are doing either the academy or just a child kid without the parent component, you can still organize it using this exact same model. So for this year, I'm going to be using 8 tab dividers with pockets. I just love the pockets in case something comes loose and we need to put it back in there. I am going to be using this 5-star zipper binder. Last year was the first year that we actually used one of these for her when she was in 2nd grade, and it worked so great for her with keeping her textbooks and stuff and everything organized here. She just loved it, how she could just pick it up like this and everything was in there. This year, I am also going to be using these little tabs over here to store our teaching charts over here to just keep everything nice and compact and in one place so that my husband and I are able to access it really quickly. And if she needs to reference a teaching chart, she also has it right there. So just keeping everything all in one place is super important to me. Then I'm also going to be using some tabs to tab all the student work over here, a pen, and these are the books that we are going to be using. Since I am doing the parent-led, I can order them unbound. I know that with the academy, I used to not have that option. Last year when I just did the child kit separately, I was also able to get it unbound. So that's the only reason why mine is unbound. So the order that I'm going to be putting this in is going to be the arithmetic quizzes, tests, and speed drills first, the arithmetic work text, the comprehension sheets, the language, grammar, and writing work text, then the language quizzes and tests, the writing with purpose, the penmanship and the creative writing, spelling and poetry, our American Heritage, the quizzes and the tests, and our American Heritage map skills. With this, you are going to notice that I'm going to take the activity sheets from here and I'm going to sprinkle them in between the test and quizzes so that they are chronologically there. So it's all under one tab and she can just work on it as it comes based on the lessons. And then the Exploring God's World quizzes, tests, and worksheets. I love that the science one already comes organized in that chronological order with the worksheets in there. So I don't have to do what I'm doing for the history, for the science, because it already came, for the science, because it already came that way. And then after that, I have my animal notebook. The only reason why I have this here is because I am going to stick a sticky note as to when is the lesson that this begins with, so that as time goes down, so as we go down the road, I think is in quarter 3 or 4 that this gets introduced, I can just go ahead and put it in the binder when that time comes. And then the last thing I have here is health and safety manners. And this gets introduced in the very last quarter. So I'm just keeping it here so that everything is in one place and in the order that I want it. Now, before I begin to do anything with the binder, the very first thing I always like to do is tab everything. I like doing everything in batches just because it makes the workflow a lot quicker. And then it's already tabbed and marked for the rest of the year. So it makes it super easy and fast when it comes to me having to refill the kids' binders. Now, on the downloadable that I made, you're going to notice a couple of things. You're going to notice that for the work text, I left it based on the lessons that get covered by quarter. So for example, quarter 1 is lessons 1 through 30, and that's how I'm going to tab it here. However, when it comes to the quizzes, tests, speed drills, assessments, I went ahead and put in there the exact lesson where it begins and it ends, because when we go into the assessments, you're going to notice that the things that are here are based on the lessons that they're going to be completing that in. So for example, lessons 7 through 10, and then there's no assessment. It just keeps going. And then the first assessment takes place on lesson 13. So you're going to notice that I have it from lesson 7 through lesson 28. And lesson 28 is this one right here. That is test 2. That is the last assessment for the first quarter. Does it make sense? Like, that's the way that, I figured it would be less time consuming if I do it that way, so that, when it comes to me tabbing, I'm not sitting there in my mind having to think about what's the next lesson that it's going to be the last one. It just makes it a lot more efficient on the brain. And, once I start doing this, I really go on power mode and I just go away, and it just makes it easier for me to tab everything. So 3rd grade is divided into 6 quarters, just like 2nd grade was in 1st and K5. In 4th grade, you're going to notice that the quarters get divided into 4 instead. I feel like it's because the different subjects that get introduced that they do it that way. Okay, so here I'm going to put Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4, Q5, Q6. Okay? So I'm going to go through here on my arithmetic first, and I'm going to go ahead and tag everything. So the last lesson is 28 for, nope. I didn't need one for Q1, but whatever. I'm just going to put it in there anyway. Then I'm going to go to lesson 28 because that's where quarter 1 ends. I'm going to turn that over, and on the next page, which for 3rd grade ends up being 19, I'm going to put my tab for quarter 2. Then quarter 2 ends in lesson 58. That's the last assessment they have. See, this one, which ends up being test 5. And I'm going to put my tab right there after that page. And then I'm just going to continue doing that for the rest of this workbook. Now for this one, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to start with quarter 2 instead though. And this one, I'm going to divide by the lessons by quarter because this is the work text. This is the classwork that they're going to do. So like the first one you're going to see goes from lesson 1 to 30. The next quarter goes from 31 to 60. It's what's on the progress report. And the progress report is what I usually let guide how I'm going to organize everything, just because it also makes it easier for me when it comes to grading and keeping everything in the correct order that way. So the math work text is all tagged. I'm going to go ahead and put it over here. The reading comprehension skill sheets, I'm not going to tag. I'm just going to put the entirety of it in the binder and we can work as time comes, just because, you know, it's nice and thin. It's okay. And then I am going to tag the language work text just like I did to the math. Now for writing, you're going to notice that the practice pages are over here. Then there is a portion for the writing collection right here, right there, okay? And then the assessments are right here. Like you're going to see the tests are right here. See how it says the grade right there on the top? So what I've been doing for the past couple of years is that like this assessment takes place in lesson 9 right here. So what I do is, since I like to keep everything consecutive, I go through and I pepper it in between the practice sheets. So for example, that one is going to be lesson 9. So I'm going to go up to lesson 8. Should be, let me see. Yep, lesson 8 over here. So see how it says lesson 8 over here. Over here it'll say lesson 10. So that means this over here is test 1, lesson 9. You see how I did that? So I'm going to go ahead and do that all throughout. Go through here, pepper it in lesson 14. That means I'm going to go up to lesson 13, pepper it in. That way it follows the same format as everything else. For the spelling, I'm not going to tag today because the spelling test papers are in the teacher's manual and I need to make copies of them. So like this is going to be the one for tests 1 through 6. So I need to make 6 copies of this. The thing is, we're in the middle of putting a new floor in our house, so everything has been unhooked and taken apart. Therefore, I can't do this right now. So I'm going to save this for later on. Maybe later on this week. The truth is my daughter is not going to have a test for about a week. So I can do this probably by the end of this week. Sean's supposed to get the floor done. Hopefully by Thursday or Friday. Right now is Monday. So I'll come back to this later. Now for the history one, I'm going to do the exact same thing that I did with the writing one. I'm going to go through here. Pepper in, depending on the lessons, okay, where the activity is going to take place. Now, for 3rd grade, you're going to notice that for the first quarter, history and science are not part of the grade, okay? So they are going to be taking practice tests and practice quizzes just so that they can get acclimated to this being something that is graded, because in 2nd grade, 1st grade, and K-5, they weren't getting a grade for history or for science. So I feel like it's a good way to get warmed up to these new subjects being tested. So it's a good way for that first quarter for them just to get their feet wet and get acclimated. So once we make it to the end of this, you're going to notice the assessment ends with lesson 120. And then the rest of it are additional worksheets, which I don't know if we're going to do or not. I'm going to place that there. Okay. Then right behind it, I am going to put the My Animal Notebook, because from lesson 92 to lesson 120, the kids are going to be working on this animal notebook. So I'm going to place this right behind there. And then the very last quarter, science is health, safety, and manners. So that's going to go right behind it. I'm not even going to take it out of the package because, quite frankly, I don't need to until the very end. So I'm going to place that in there just to keep it in that organized manner. If you want to tag it and put, you know, Q6 at the end of this, so you know, that's when it takes place, Q6, you can do that to remind you of that, just like that, okay? So now that I have everything tagged, it's going to be time to set up my dividers with all the subjects that I'm going to be doing. And then we're gonna hole punch and just stick everything in the binder. I got these at Walmart. I feel like they're good. They're nice and, you know, durable. I like the plastic stuff. Let me see where the little thingy-jigs are at. Oh, there you go. Here it is. All right, so I have 8 tabs and 9 sections. So what I'm going to do is, when it comes to the arithmetic tests and quizzes, I'm not even going to put this behind a tab. I'm going to put that at the very beginning of everything, okay? And then the work text will be here. You see? So when it opens, it doesn't even need a divider for that. So I'm going to start labeling everything. I think it might be easier if I label everything first and then I rip it out. So I'm just going to write math or arithmetic, whichever you want to label as. So I'm going to just write math here. You can give it, you know, whatever label you think might be easier for you to remember. The next one is going to be reading comp. So I'm going to put reading comp. Language. No. Text. And then I'm going to put language Q and T for tests and quizzes. Writing. Spelling. History. And then science is the last one. I'm going to keep the other piece in there just because, you know, in case we decide to change things later on. And it just keeps the little tabs in place better. I feel like it gives it a little bit more chunk so that you don't just slide off. So now that I have all my tabs labeled, it's going to be time to go through here and pick out everything that I'm going to be needing for this very first quarter. Like I said, I like to work in batches. It just makes everything so much more efficient. So I'm going to be using my handy dandy 3-hole puncher. I want to give a shout out to this hole puncher because it has been so faithful. It has been so good to me. I got it our very first year of homeschooling. Now we're going into our 5th year of homeschooling and it is a champ. This thing just punches through things so good. Definitely heavy duty and like pretty thick reams of paper. So I just have to give a shout out. I'll share the link with you guys in the description below in case you're interested. I'm going to keep, in this case, the cover of just this one to put in front since I'm not going to have a divider in front of it. I'll put the sturdier one in the front, okay? I'm going to keep that. I'm going to take that out. I'm going to keep this over here. And then I'm just going to pluck out up until quarter 2. I don't know why I put a tab on this one. That was unnecessary. So up till quarter 2, got that done. Put that over here to the side. Okay. And then I'm going to come through here. This one I have to rip out because this one did not come unbound. And that is okay. So I'm going to go through here and just rip them out. And I like to stagger stack. So I stack them this way, so when it comes time for me to pull them apart, I don't have to waste time rummaging through between subjects. It's already done. Okay. Put that one over here. Reading is going to stay like that. I'm going to put this one here. Language. For the language one, I'm going to keep this cover sheet to put in front of that folder, you know, the pocket of the divider. All right, so when filling the binders, I like to fill them from the back to the front. So if you noticed, I was putting them face down from the top because whatever belongs on the very back of the binder will be on the top, and it'll allow me to hole punch, stick in there, put the next tab up, and so on and so forth. Okay, so I have this. If you want to hole punch all at once, you can do that too. Okay, so I'm gonna bring my hole puncher here. I'm gonna take this one, Exploring God's World, my science one. That's going to be the one on the very back. And then I take the divider for science and put it right on top of that. And I'm gonna continue doing this for the rest of the subject. And voila! This is all organized and set for the year. So I'm gonna walk you through what does it look like inside, and then I'm going to share with you how else we're going to be using this binder. At least how we're planning to use this binder besides just to hold my daughter's work. So the very first segment is the arithmetic quiz, test, and speed drills right here. Then the work text. I like to put the speed drills first because they typically do that before everything else. Then the reading comprehension skill sheets. And like I said, I put the entire book in there. The language text. Okay. The language quizzes and tests. Writing with a purpose. And this one has the assessments peppered through. The spelling, which I haven't put in there yet. I will take care of that at the end of the week after our floor is done. And I can have my printer ready. And then our history. It has the map, skills, and then the assessments sprinkled through. And then our science, which is Exploring God's World, and the quizzes, tests, and worksheets. So that's all that we have here. Now, as for this area right here of the binder, since this comes with this, since we are doing parent-led, we have all of these teaching charts that go along with each one of the subjects. So what I'm going to be doing when it comes time to organize our parent resources is I am going to be placing these teaching charts in these pockets over here by the subjects because they fit very well. I already tested it out. So I'm going to go through like the teaching manuals and see which teaching charts get taught when, and maybe tag them. And that way, whenever we're setting up each quarter, all the teaching charts that we're going to be needing for that quarter will be in here. So like this would be, see how it fits super good. So math, maybe I'll start math over here, language over here, science, history, so that everything is right there. You see? So whenever we need it, we can just take it out. We're going to work on something. We take out the teaching charts like this, and we could just reference them as we're working with our daughter. And also, if she ever needs it whenever she's doing some independent work, or if we want to allow her to use it for her assessments, is there readily available for her too. So that's the game plan for that. Now, as for this area over here, this binder is pretty nifty in the way that we are actually able to fit her workbooks right here. The plan is for us to be able to fit her science, her history, and her reader right in here. We tested this out last year and it worked pretty good. So her history goes right here, and it's stretchy. It's a stretchy thing, you see? And then her reader would go right here. You see that? And then it has a spot for a pencil, a little zipper thingy here. We found out that we really didn't use the zipper thingy very much last year. But that way, everything that is needed to homeschool our daughter is right here. The resources that she needs right then and there, all in one place. And she could just pick it up and carry it, With her, she really likes homeschooling outside on the picnic table. That's something that we discovered ever since we moved here in the summertime when I was finishing up second grade with her. So she used to just pick up her binder and take it out there. There's not a gazillion million things to carry around. So this method has really worked for us. And if you're doing parent-led, I mean, even not just parent-led, but also if you're doing the academy, this really works very well. I would say for second grade and third grade, definitely. Now, for the older grades, I haven't tested it out because my son just uses a regular binder. He doesn't really use this. So for him, we got a regular binder. Now, when it comes to us organizing our parent lesson plans, I am going to do a parent binder for my husband and I. So make sure to be on the lookout for that, because when I'm setting this up later on this week, I'm definitely going to be sharing that with you. This is just something new that we are trying out this year, just to keep everything in one place where both my husband and I can reference it together and just have, you know, not be so overwhelmed by it. Because if we keep it, this is how huge these things are, okay? That's how huge the lesson plans are. If we get this huge thing, and then the one for science and health, and then the one for math, and I mean, they're so big, you know, and we don't need to reference the whole year, the entirety of the time. So the game plan is to just set it up in the same amount of lessons like the kids' binder is. So we can just have what we need for that specific quarter to do what we need to do to teach our daughter what she needs to know for the third grade. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like and subscribe. And if there's any other videos that you would like to see in the future, make sure to go ahead and share it in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.